Picture a city millions once crossed oceans to reach, where a single address could rewrite a family's entire future forever. Now picture that same city quietly emptying out, not because of war, but because a slow arithmetic no longer adds up. Something has shifted inside London. People who once saw it as the finish line now treat it as a starting point elsewhere. What follows is the story of 10 forces, each a small crack, turning a dream destination into a place people calculate their way out of. For generations, London represented the ultimate promise. Millions arrived from India, Nigeria, Poland, Bangladesh, and far beyond, full of hope. They believed hard work would deliver stability, a home of their own, and a better life for the next generation waiting ahead. For decades, that bargain more or less held. London remained one of the most powerful cities on earth, converting ambition into something tangible. But quietly, almost invisibly, the maths behind that promise stopped working. A growing number now conclude, rewards no longer justify the cost. It begins with owning a home, once the proof that years of saving and struggle had truly been worth every sacrifice made. Back in the late 1980s, house prices sat around 4.5 times earnings in London. A stretch, but an achievable one. Today that ratio has climbed into double digits across most boroughs, often passing 12 or 15, sometimes exceeding 20 in prime areas. Deposit requirements have grown steeper, often a quarter of the property value, while lenders have tightened criteria, shutting many qualified buyers out. Earlier arrivals saw a clear staircase from renting to owning. That staircase has been removed, leaving frustration and persistent uncertainty behind. Just behind that sits the rental crisis, turning London's housing problem from a distant worry into a daily source of instability for families. Renting was once a temporary stage, a stepping stone toward ownership. For more immigrant families now, it has become a permanent condition. Available rental listings have fallen by more than a third since pre-pandemic levels. The market is now defined by bidding wars over basic flats. Overcrowding has become normal in several boroughs, with 2 or even 3 families sharing a single home facing long waiting lists. Migrant households spend more than a third of disposable income on rent, leaving almost nothing for savings or future deposits to build upon. Every move comes with short notice, higher fees, and the constant threat of eviction hanging silently but relentlessly in the background. Instead of building something stable, many people feel trapped in a holding pattern, unable to put down roots in an uncertain city. Even once rent or mortgage is paid, the city keeps demanding more. Groceries, energy bills, transport council tax, all stack up monthly. Research consistently finds that real income gains after housing costs have been weak, hitting lower and middle-income households hardest of all. For migrant families, every supermarket trip or petrol top-up is a small reminder that recurring expenses are quietly eating into thin margins. Pressure sharpens for those trying to send money home or build any financial cushion. Modest goals start to feel entirely out of reach. Over time, this slow background attrition creates financial stasis, where the promise of getting ahead is replaced by the grind of staying afloat. Then there is the cost of raising children, turning the working week into a constant, exhausting balancing act for immigrant parents. Nursery fees for a child under 2 now average around £149 weekly. After-school clubs add another £70. Covering 6 weeks of summer can cost over £1,000 per child. A full year of childcare can swallow a fifth of household income. Without grandparents or extended family nearby, informal support networks that make parenting manageable elsewhere simply do not exist here. Even 2 incomes can feel barely enough, particularly for those who do not qualify for subsidized places or who fall foul of benefit restrictions. For many, the practical appeal of returning to a country where family support is close and childcare is cheaper begins to outweigh London's salary. In the end, the economics of raising a family in London can be the final thing that tips the balance definitively from staying to going. Closely tied to this is work-life balance, which has become a decisive factor entirely in its own right for exhausted immigrant professionals. The average London commute now stretches to 74 minutes a day, eating directly into family time and personal well-being every single day. Office culture in finance, technology, and hospitality often spills well beyond contracted hours, with emails bleeding into evenings and weekends. Close to 40% of London workers report symptoms of burnout, a figure that climbs even higher across high-pressure professional sectors. For migrants who arrived hoping for rapid progress, the grind can feel especially relentless, turning short-term effort into years of missed birthdays. In cities abroad where commutes are shorter and after-hours work less expected, the appeal of a more balanced life becomes hard to ignore. For a growing number, going home means reclaiming time and dignity that London's relentless professional pace no longer allows or rewards. At the same time, the global map of opportunity is being redrawn. The pull of rising cities abroad is now as strong as London's push. Bangalore and Hyderabad have transformed into genuine innovation hubs, home to tech giants, offering career paths that rival what London provides. Warsaw and Bucharest are now thriving financial and technology hubs, with salaries aligned to the EU and subsidized childcare, making family life manageable. Lagos has become a magnet for professionals in fintech and creative industries, where senior salaries carry real purchasing power, unlike London. In Dubai, tax-free packages and school allowances attract families seeking both stability and advancement at far greater speed than London offers. Kuala Lumpur's expanding digital economy offers skilled workers a comfortable lifestyle at a fraction of London's overwhelming financial cost. Where London once stood alone as the gateway to global success, a new generation of cities now compete directly for exactly the same talent. For many, returning home or relocating is no longer a retreat. It is a rational step toward professional progress and genuine quality of life. Underneath all this lies a deeper shift. Remote work has begun to erode one of London's oldest advantages: the need to be physically present. The pandemic accelerated a shift already underway. More than 40% of UK workers now spend at least part of their week working from home. For immigrant professionals in technology, finance, and consulting, keeping a UK employer while living elsewhere is no longer theoretical. It is real. This decoupling of job and geography breaks the old assumption that higher London wages would always offset the city's extraordinarily high costs. The same salary paid into a British account can fund home ownership, family support, or a new business abroad, options unavailable in London itself. Surveys show a large share of UK employees would welcome working from another country. Migrants increasingly seize exactly that flexibility. Now, what was once a one-way journey toward London has become a two-way street. Skilled workers now choose where they live, not just where they work. London's premium is no longer guaranteed. The city now competes not just with rival capitals, but with an entire global marketplace for mobile talent. Moving toward the very top of the list, taxation and mandatory deductions reshape how immigrants experience financial life at a fundamental level. A salary looking impressive on paper can shrink dramatically once income tax, national insurance, and visa-related charges are fully accounted for. A skilled worker earning around £45,000 sees close to a quarter disappear before a single bill is even paid each month. Add immigration health surcharges, visa renewal fees, pension deductions, and student loans, and the gap between gross and net widens even further. These deductions bite hardest precisely when the cost of living is already high, leaving less for rent, childcare, and everyday expenses each month. Earning more does not automatically mean feeling better off. The promise of upward mobility is steadily eroded by what disappears from each payslip. For immigrants, even a respectable salary often leaves little room to save, send money home, or build any kind of meaningful financial cushion. Over time, this steady subtraction feeds a growing sense that London is a city where hard work genuinely brings diminishing returns for immigrants. When friends abroad describe lower taxes and fewer deductions, the headline London salary loses its shine, and the decision to leave shifts once more. Second on the list, arguably more powerful than money, is a quiet redefinition of what success even means for a new generation of migrants arriving. The old bargain meant enduring long hours, high costs, and personal sacrifice in exchange for status and security promised somewhere later on. That bargain has lost its appeal. Success is now measured less by a London postcode and more by home ownership and time with family. Surveys among recent arrivals reveal a striking shift, with flexibility, mental health, and time with loved ones now ranking above salary or prestige. Home ownership, once the reward for years of sacrifice, is now out of reach for most, removing the sense of progress earlier generations enjoyed. This reflects a broader cultural change in how young people, whether born in Britain or newly arrived, see the purpose of work and migration. The willingness to delay family life or accept years of uncertainty in exchange for some future payoff is fading rapidly among arriving migrants. For many, returning home where a good job can coexist with affordable housing and strong family ties feels like the more rational, rewarding path. London's prestige remains real, but for a growing number of people, that prestige alone no longer justifies the very steep price being demanded. Finally, at the very top sits return migration itself. When every pressure on this list converges into one single decisive act of departure. For a growing number of immigrants, leaving is not defeat, but a calculated choice, shaped by data as much as by lived personal experience. The latest national figures record a sharp slowdown in net migration, falling to 1,000 in 2025, the lowest recently. London's net migration, once a robust annual surplus, has slipped into negative territory, reflecting a steady rise in departures from the city. Researchers now distinguish between returns driven by economics, by policy changes, by family, or simply by the search for personal well-being abroad. For many, when the cost of living outpaces earnings, the pull of home grows stronger, drawing people back toward familiar language and trusted networks. Family reunification, raising children near relatives, and the simple comfort of belonging all play a decisive role in the decision to leave London. Far from being a failure, return migration is increasingly understood as forward-looking and self-directed, a strategy rather than any kind of setback. This latest wave of departures reminds us that global mobility now runs in both directions, and success means choosing the place that best fits. Across all 10 of these forces, one truth keeps surfacing. London's promise now comes with a relentless cost that is harder to justify than ever before. For many immigrants, the calculation has moved from aspiration to adaptation, and now to genuine, serious reconsideration of everything they had planned. The city's strengths have not disappeared, but the trade-offs have grown sharper than ever, as opportunities expand elsewhere and expectations evolve. As a new era of global mobility takes hold, London faces an uncomfortable question it simply cannot avoid. Can it still offer a future worth the sacrifice?